Hello guys, it's Diced Apples. For my next video I'd like to make a detailed explanation about how you should be playing Frog Isle. I won't be doing any commentary on a specific champion, but how to structure your composition around Frog Isle and kind of how you should be thinking about the fight. The easiest way for me to think about the fight is to think about the red line. The red line is basically where you're gonna want to set up around three different people. You're gonna have the bottom lane, you're gonna have the top lane, and you're gonna have the middle. Typically champions that can be a little bit more tanky, can survive by themselves, and kind of keep that line, make sure nobody gets by, so your backline champion is very safe, and also so your support champion is very safe. Everybody in the game has to realize when somebody is trying to do something to change this line. Now the second way to think about Frog Isle is to think about how there's always, or almost always, when you have every single champion alive, there's always going to be two fights happening, and that's the yellow circles. That's typically where they're going to be. Obviously in specific scenarios they're going to be a bit different, and it depends on team composition, and we'll get into that later, and how different champions fit into the respective roles. So the main guideline for these positions is basically in your bottom lane you want a tanky person, so you're going to have somebody like Fernando or Ruckus or Makoa even, and you're going to have your support there as well. In the back line you're going to have somebody with a lot of range, someone that can help both sides of the fight, so they can pick which fight they want to help out, so the top or the bottom circle. What you can also have in the back line is not really somebody that's going to be in the back line, but for example a Bomb King. A Bomb King can easily pick what fight he helps out at. He can poppy bomb to the different side of the map very easily, and then help that fight that's going on. So that serves also as a backline, but just in a different way. In the top lane, you're going to want somebody that can 1v1 very effectively, and just make sure that nobody gets past. So your job in your top lane is to keep your backline champion completely safe, no matter what. And then if he's safe, you can also threaten their backline champion and kind of make the other top laner's job make it hard for him. So now the middle lane is where it gets a bit more complicated. The middle lane is somebody that can just go anywhere, really. So somebody like Androxus or Eevee or Grok or Makoa, Fernando, Pip perhaps. Somebody that can just be everywhere, be tanky. So Androxus can have a lot of mobility to kind of stay in the middle of the map and just dodge a lot of fights, but Androxus can also go more out of his position than other champions. So like Grok there would probably not go straight too far away from the middle, just because he needs the pocket healing, he needs to make sure that his top laner stays alive, stuff like that. Fernando can basically go anywhere he wants. Yeah, so the middle lane, it just has the most freedom. So now I want to go into a specific scenario that District 69 used against Snake. District 69's on the right side here, and Snake's on the left side. So I think it's a good idea if you guys watch this game. I'll put it in the description or something. And try to watch it with spectate mode and take like a bird's eye view, where you can really imagine the red line and see how they try to manipulate it. So I'll give you an example of what they do, but it's easier to see it. So what was happening was Snake was pressuring District 69, and they were getting kind of pressured into the corner here. So Ying was all the way back by closer to the wall. Makoa was close to where Ying's little picture is, and Droxus was still in the shade. Buck was on the right side by the ledge, and Jorgus was somewhere in the air. It doesn't really matter. Somewhere in the back as well. And what Buck did was to manipulate that line, was to jump all the way behind him to the other ledge, and that forced Snake to turn around and have to go deal with him, and opened up a lot more room for District 69 to go attack again. And at that exact same moment, Androxus used an ulti. So why is this important? And how does this affect the red line? So basically, because Snake kind of tunneled on forcing the whole team back into that little area, Buck was able to get behind them. And that's kind of your goal as that top laner. You want to get behind them, you want to start hitting people, you want to start just pulling their attention. You don't necessarily want to kill somebody, but if somebody, the whole time, you've got poke happening between both sides, and people have to, when people take poke and there's cauterizes online, you gotta back off, you gotta hide it for a second, get some healing. But if there's somebody in the back line, that can continue applying the cauterize, they don't get healed up, and slowly you die. So this was an amazing move by Buck, because he realized that the line was not being held properly, so then he just jumped behind them and really punished them for that mistake. So in this map, to kind of continue the reasoning of the red line, I drew two more red lines. When you ace them, or you've reset them, and they've kind of held a position, and there's always these red lines that get created. So for example, when you've got your support on point, you're going to want like 2 people on the right side and 2 people on the left side. That's pretty standard. And you kind of hold those lines that I drew. The 2 red lines just to the right of the first red line. So this red line is always moving and it's always shifting a little bit, but it's still always there. And the main idea is to focus on when people get over that line, what does that mean for your team composition? So, and how dangerous does that put them? So a big mistake we were making in Frog Isle was at the beginning of the fight, we had it all about these positions. It was good, but what Bomb King was doing, I think, was creatives. He was always standing right between the 2 pillars on the far side of the point, so kind of like where Fernando's picture is. So nobody was punishing that position from Bomb King, and also what they did very well was they took control of the stage. So if you have control of the stage, the whole team that's hugging the wall there has to back up a bit, and then the best or a really nice position by Bomb King is exactly what I just described. So that's the position we have to push them off of. What was happening was, I'm not sure exactly, but we had Eevee and Cassie possibly, and Eevee and Cassie weren't focusing that spot. It wasn't even about killing the Bomb King, it was about pushing him off of that spot so we don't stay dangerous by the wall. And that comes back to the red line of, he crossed that red line, so that's going to have impact on how dangerous we are. It's always beneficial to be ahead of the other team. So it's better that one of our players is on the opposite side of the red line in their base than on our side, because then we can kind of control what threats are happening, while if they're on our side, it means that they're introducing something new into our environment and we have to adapt to it. It's almost always better to be proactive rather than passive. So now I'd kind of like to talk about the champions that were each of the champions that fit into the roles. Bear in mind that I don't have so much experience with thinking about Frog Isle with these roles, and this is something new for me as well, but it's kind of my first ideas of viable champions for each individual role. So first we start with the top lane, and top lane are basically just people that are really good at 1v1ing people. So Buck is definitely, I watched a few Frog Isle games, and Buck is always picked. Buck is for really the best 1v1 champion, and really if 2v1 he takes a while to kill. He's just got so much power to go in and out. He can cross that red line without much punishment, so it's really nice. So Cassie is also pretty good. Cassie is more of a defensive top lane rather than offensive, so that means kind of she's just gonna make sure that the other top laner doesn't cross over to kill the back line and just hit the other fight. Then you've got a bit more range than typical top laners anyways, so you can do more damage on the far fight, so you want to do that as much as possible. Obviously it's situational. Lex is also a pretty good one for the top lane. It's a bit different than the other top laners because since top lane is kind of further away from your support, say especially if you have a Ying as support, you can't really have a Lex because Lex is very immobile. He's got one dash, but really he doesn't have somewhere to go, so much options. He doesn't have so many escapes. So yeah, he does a lot of damage, and yeah, so Lex is a viable top laner as well. Androxus can be up there too. Androxus is nice at 1v1ing. A lot of the time in solo queue, you see like the top players like Bird and Modestina, they just hug the ledge, and they hug that the whole game long. They stay there, make sure nobody passes by, and that keeps their backline super safe. They hug the offensive one, obviously. Now, for bottom lane, it's just tanks. Your Makoa is able to do this, even though I'm thinking it's not so nice, because your Makoa is just super strong to go anywhere. It's really nice to send a Makoa into top lane, change up your style a little bit. Say you want to pressure the window maybe because they have a Shaolin. You want to pressure the back line, and the window is really, really important. Then you can send your Makoa there to hook him down. He's very effective at doing that, but that leaves your bottom lane open. So that's why I don't like Makoa as much in bottom lane, and I'd rather have him in middle lane. Fernando's pretty good. Also, Fernando works great in middle lane. It's kind of both of them. The same as the Makoa. And with bottom lane, you kind of want somebody to hold the stage so your support can be safe, or to be on point to cap points. And with a tank on point, most people aren't going to go hit the backline support because you're capping points and you really want to push them off. That's just a higher priority. Torvald's pretty nice, especially because it helps out your top lane an incredible amount. So if you have a Buck in the top lane, which is already the best top lane champ, and you set him one against one and you give him a shield, he's gonna wreck that other person very, very quickly, and it's gonna just put a lot of pressure on that top lane without so much input from your team. So Ruckus is also very nice because he's got very long range, so he can affect both orange circles. He can fight on both fights while still capping points. Ruckus is really good. Now I'm going to talk about the mid lane a bit later. So support, I find that because you're always in this fight, in this map, you want to be affecting two different places. The two fights, long range supports are very nice. So Dunba and Seris are really good here. Ying, you see District 69, the composition we just noticed, they played with Ying, but I believe that has to do with the middle lane position as well with Androxus. But we'll talk about that later when we talk about Androxus. Now, your backline, here on the spreadsheet I call it damage duo range. I couldn't decide on a name, and I finally heard Bird saying it in a video, so I figured I'd change it on the picture, but I haven't changed it here. So, going back to a little bit what I said before, your Bomb King can affect both fights with just poppy bombing. Drogus is really nice if long range. Drogus is really nice against 2 tanks, so that's especially when you want to pick him. Grover is very nice when you want to counter the enemy window. Sometimes you're going to have like a Kinessa or Shaolin there, and then Grover's like super strong. Kinessa is nice in this map. Basically what you do with Kinessa is you just jump up over the wall, you shoot, and then you fall back down, so then you're safe. So it's a very nice way to do damage while staying completely safe from a lot of long range poke, and you've got your right side covered. So it's always the enemy team, if they want to take down a Kinessa, they always have to clear up the top lane and then go for the Kinessa. So it's kind of a 2-step process. Now I kind of want to talk something for my team. The reason why I don't like how we run Eevee plus Kinessa together. So the reason why I think it's bad is because I've got Eevee placed in middle lane here, so you can still have that top lane covered a lot, but these positions aren't set in stone. These positions, sometimes you're going to have to take over other positions. So for example, if your top lane dies, you can't just say, oh, that's too bad, I'm middle lane champ, I'm just going to leave open the top lane and have my Kinessa have a completely open flank. That's not how it works. So you still have to adapt and see what's a higher priority position. So basically, when you're thinking about these positions, yeah, there are champions that are better at fulfilling certain roles, but you still have to fill those roles. So say, let's take a very extreme example. I don't know why this would happen, but Maldama's in the middle lane, for example. She gets a bit out of position, it happens. And then the top lane person dies. Maldama's not just he's gonna back off, try to hug the back wall on near the water and protect the Kinessa in a way, just put himself between Kinessa and kind of force the 2v1 if they want to come through that flank, and kind of call out to the team to come help you, because it's definitely a bad champion to do that. But it still proves the point that yeah, you're support, but yeah, you can do some damage. You can stun somebody, you can have Kinessa help you. You're not alone in fixing that safety in the top lane. So now going back to the example of why I don't like Eevee plus Kinessa on the same team. It's because Eevee has nice 1v1 power. So in a lot of 1v1 tournaments you're going to see Eevees, and it's going to be really nice. But Eevee is extremely slow at dealing with champions. So she can kill him, and she'll definitely not die, but that doesn't mean she's holding the flank. She has to be able to stall him somehow. And for example, if you're gonna have for example, let's take the extreme example again. You have the Makoa in the middle position instead of the Eevee. Makoa is definitely going to hold that right flank much stronger than an Eevee will. And if I look at the chart, Androxus will be better at that as well. Grok, I'm not sure if Grok will be better at it than Eevee, but the point is that Eevee's not so good at fixing the position of the top laner that might die, and the top laner that's a 1v, we're kind of putting them in a 1v1 scenario or a very aggressive scenario, a 2v2 really. People are going to die, it's going to happen, so you kind of want a good backup champion for that top lane, and Eevee just doesn't feel that. Eevee wants to go crossing the line. What Eevee is really good at is going behind him and disrupting them there, then jumping back, just causing a lot of commotion on the opposite side of the red line. And you don't pick Eevee to keep somebody from crossing your line. So now I want to talk about why I'm adding the not viable champions and why they're there. So in this meta right now, you've got tanks that are strong, and you've got people with a lot of high mobility. So then Tyra, yeah, she's good against tanks, but if you're looking at these positions, there's just so much high mobility, she's gonna get focused somewhere, and you're gonna put her in the only way you really play a Tyra is on the bottom lane. There's too many angles on the top lane for her to be safe, and also you want to be focusing tanks. So tanks are gonna be more at the bottom lane than at the top lane. In Nara and Barik, my problem with those is kind of they don't have enough mobility. So you pick them for the bottom lane, yeah, but they have absolutely no impact on the other side of the map. So on the other orange circle that we saw before, they're just gonna kind of stick point and be a nuisance there, but the other team's just gonna ignore point for a second, fix top lane, fix the back line, wrap around you, just kill you from all sides, and then take to kill the other champions, and then take the Barik or the Inara on point. Pip, I don't feel like he completely fits on this map. So yeah, he can kind of fight in both of the fights and use weightless to get to the other fight very quickly, but I feel like all the other champions are just better than him at doing it. There's not so much need for a Pip that I can see. So now I'd like to talk about the Androxus and why it fits so beautifully with the Ying in the team composition that District 69 set up. So basically what happens is, in that middle lane, you want somebody that can survive and can go anywhere. But that's counterintuitive with somebody that's squishy like Androxus. So now we have to think about what effect the Ying has on this Androxus. So the Ying has very little range on her heals. Well, it's not that little, but you can see it on the yellow circle from before. So because she has less range on her heals, her clones won't be busy a lot of the time. They'll just be healing the bottom lane and kind of the back lane. And this means that as soon as an Androxus comes in range, he's going to get much more healing than he usually would when everybody is low. So he's going to have much more sustainability once he comes into that range. And because of his high mobility, he can easily go in and out of that range and thus have a lot of impact on both sides of the map. So respect to District 69. I think that's a beautiful composition, and I like how they set that up. So I could talk about this compositions on this map for quite a while, but I think I'll round up the video now, and you guys know the reasoning that goes into making the compositions, and I think just being creative and trying to find your own compositions will be very good for you. And good luck. See you guys.